Who is Eugene Muchai?
I have found a lot of pleasure empowering especially the youth to gain skills so that they can be self-sustained in terms of the solutions that they create, get employment, even come out into the market and talk about the things that they do.
TIE.
It's basically a platform for everyone to come, connect, build a community, and then work together towards sustainability.
So how is TIE amplifying the sustainable development goals in basically your doings as a company?
Inclusion and reducing inequalities. At TIE events, we have made every deliberate effort to do our events in venues that are accessible and accommodative to persons with disabilities.
What did you say to a young Eugene, that young boy growing up in Kawangware?
Yes.
What did you say to him now? Hi, Eugene.
Hi, John.
Yeah, it's really nice to have you here on the Beyond Impact podcast. Fantastic to have someone like you today and making the time. Who is Eugene Muchai?
All right, thank you so much, John, for this opportunity. Very excited to be here, especially to have conversations. I love conversations, and I like it when I have time to talk about what I do and the people that I work for and I work with. I'm so excited to just introduce myself and talk about the things that are dear to my heart. I am basically a marketing and business management professional that has worked for many years, slightly above 10 years, to do community engagements, community building, and society building. So everything that I've been doing for the past 10 years has basically been to contribute to the well-being of the society through networking and community building. When I started my dream to do business management with a focus on communication, marketing, and people, I really wanted to explore how the world could be more exciting and more engaging, because in my history, I never knew a world that is exciting. So I wanted to create a world that is exciting for people. How did I think about that? First, when I got to high school, and I thought I had people who were from different backgrounds who wanted to be heard, listened to, and talked to. And I started doing some informal kind of engagements with my colleagues, my fellow students, and I could even engage teachers and visitors when they came to school. And that is how I built the interest to grow with people and generate or get energy from people. That graduated into campus, where I now started developing more professional skills in getting people together, talking to people, engaging people. And then there's a challenge that I got early in my campus years on, after engaging people, what else do you do with them? What is the end game of engaging people and having people excited and engaged? What is the end game of building a community? And that is what disturbed me for a long time, until I got to a point where I wanted to get and challenge myself to do a little bit more by getting into the corporate world. And that's how I formed an organization called TIE Events.
TIE Events.
TIE Events. TIE Events is basically T, I, and E.
All right. To
mean that we exist to provide solutions in technology, innovation, and entrepreneurship.
And technology,
innovation, and entrepreneurship. So those are the things that we focus on, and we normally coin our events and our concepts, our meetings around those three thematic areas.
All right.
But there's something that we found very exciting after we started. And we thought, apart from technology and the technicalities of innovation and complexities of entrepreneurship, could we talk about wellness and happiness? So we introduced team building in our services.
So before we go to all that, I mean,
yes.
I believe a young Muchai was probably an innovator, probably way back when you were young, or you like creating things, designing things. Probably give us a bit of that backstory to what then led you up to that particular step where now you have TIE.
Yes.
All
right. I remember one particular time when my mom, who is my dad passed on when we were very young. My family is just about 7 kids, and so my dad passed on when I was about 4 years. And so I had the responsibility of taking care of my siblings, the younger ones, especially 2 that are behind me, and I had the responsibility of taking care of them. So one day I thought that my mom was struggling raising food for the house and giving us a livelihood or a living in the house. And so I stepped out on one day without telling anyone where I was going. And I went to a market in Kawangware where I was born and raised. And when I got there, I sat in the market and faked to have broken arms in a market.
Wow.
When I faked having broken arms, people who were walking by were actually sending me or throwing in coins.
Do you have a picture?
No, by that time, I am not very sure whether we had technology enough to record such moments.
So please
So when I sat and faked that disability, and I got some contributions, I think that day I collected about 18 shillings. So 18 shillings around the year 2001 was quite a lot of money for a young guy who didn't know so much. So that time, the only thing I needed to do was to get a tin of maize and take it to the posho mill and get food for the house. 18 shillings could allow me to buy a little bit of kales and just some decent meal. And that is how I thought after solving that problem, because I got food to the house and my family was happy on that day. My mom really gave me a very good beating after that, but I thought I should try it another time. Just to gain more experience and see how I can solve more problems.
So did you try it again?
No, I tried it in a different way, all right?
Okay.
So the next time I thought about going to the market, I thought instead of faking disability, of which the way I was trained is that the more you wish calamity on yourself, the more likely you are to get calamity. So I thought the next time, let me try do something different. And so I went to the same market and talk to people. So I went to everyone who had a stall and talked to each one of them. And majority of them could tell you, oh, you are just the stubborn boys around, you're a street boy and such. But I got people who are very kind. And the ones who inspired me the most are the people who said, I want to give you this packet of maize meal or maize flour for you to go and prepare for your family. I also picked that there are people who are interested in just seeing you happy. So some people told me, I'm not able to give you food to carry away,
Yes.
but I'm able to give you food for you to eat here. So even as I took food home, I was already full. That is where I got the essence of community and welfare. And that is what catapulted me to think about how I would be more useful to people later in life.
Wow, no, fantastic. Gladwell in his book, The Outliers, reminds us that who we are right now cannot be separated from where we actually came from.
That's true.
How does an environment, that particular environment that you grew up in,
Yes.
and how does that either make you or break you? And the lessons that you get from that particular community, whether they are good, because some people will shun you, some people will encourage you,
True.
some people will just say that they want really just to make you happy. So how is that very important to that particular journey of you and any other person who has gone through that?
So, John, if I had to talk to people for me to get food when my mom could not be able to afford food, then speaking to people, talking to people became an essential part of my life. And I used to do it at home, in school, in church. I used to, at some point, write letters to my pastor just requesting for food after service.
Wow.
Because I knew that...
And this was food for not just you, but for your family
For my family. Sometimes you could even help other people, because in our neighborhood we had children who needed help. So apart from helping ourselves, we had to help a few other people in our neighborhood. So I remember those times when I had to pitch to my pastor or the church leadership for them to give me food after service. Sometimes they used to collect food and then give us physical food. Sometimes they will give us money. Sometimes they will ask you to go and bring your parents so that they can be given the resources. So I developed that aspect of having to talk to people and get help by just having engagements. That's how I grew up, talking to people, seeking help, and that is how I solved my problems. That has not changed to date. It's only that today I talk to people to give them solutions to their needs and engage with them professionally so that I can solve problems for myself, the people who depend on me, and also the society. So that history brought me to even be interested in things like marketing, public communications, public engagements, and then now looking at how we can solve problems more sustainably by creating avenues for people to network, help each other, solve problems without the need to help and beg and really borrow every time. So that is what inspired me all along. And I think it's really contributed to even the way I have built my post-study years, because I have found a lot of pleasure in training people and empowering especially the youth to gain skills so that they can be self-sustained in terms of the solutions that they create, get employment, even come out into the market and talk about the things that they do. That is when I talk about personal branding and services like that. I basically want to see people coming out of themselves, standing out, and even making an impact through personal branding. And that's also one of the things that we offer.
Yeah, it's very interesting because, I mean, they say the greatest, investment you can do is upon yourself.
True.
So how important is it from your experience? How important is it to constantly skill up and reskill? How important is that?
All right. The same way today is not the same as yesterday. Is the same way that we need to change and keep upskilling so that we can be relevant in the world tomorrow the same way we are today. We shall be required to have a different kind of skill sets, different kind of knowledge, different kind of experiences for us to deal with problems that we shall face tomorrow. And so over time, I always like challenging myself to look at what is new in the market, what is upcoming, what are the challenges that are growing. For example, when you look at the year 2019 and 2020, there's a very big difference between those 2 years, especially for people in media, people in marketing, and generally in the entrepreneurship world. Things changed in just a span of about 4 months. The way we used to do events in 2019 is not the way we started doing them in 2020. In just a span of a second, people cannot move. We cannot host 1,000 people in one physical space. We didn't know about virtual meeting platforms in February 2020. I can't even remember the last time I went for a whole day without seeing an invitation for a virtual meeting today.
Yeah.
And so things can change very fast. But the people who are most effective with the changes are the people who are constantly improving themselves and constantly looking for opportunities to grow and to change their lives positively. And so change is equivalent to your intentional effort
and
to keep learning and growing.
Wow, that's profound. And I mean, that's what your world is about. It's about innovating.
True.
Innovating, that's where you're going to. And I see then why that is very, very key to you.
Yes.
Thai. All right. So you've told us a bit, about how that came to be and how your experience and your environment and how you grew up has got you to this particular stage.
Yes.
And let's talk about now Thai. How long have you been in existence? What do you provide? What need did you see? What gap is there? And, what are you then promising communities also?
All right. When I started doing some professional level of community engagement in entrepreneurship circles, I used to be at a place where I was supporting innovation hubs and corporate organizations to hold meetings. At that time, I didn't know that I would come and form a corporate on its own that is doing events and especially supporting innovators and entrepreneurs. But so I was just contributing as a volunteer, as a supporter, and I used to help people just bring communities together, talk about business, talk about innovation, talk about technology. That's how I started as a trainee MC. And I really focused on entrepreneurship and innovation.
Okay.
What that made me to be is someone who was not just interested, but also invested, because I had to research for me to be relevant in a certain conversation. And so every time I was reading, I was getting some new inspiration on what I could do later. That was about 2014, 2015, and 2016. So in 2017, I thought about this idea that can now bring my services, my personal skills in corporate emceeing and bringing people together into something that could help a few more people to solve a little bit more problems than I can do on my own. And so in 2019, which is about 5 years ago, we launched Thai Events. Thai Events to mean that we wanted to have people in technology to come and give their skills to the world. People in innovation to come and support other innovators to be able to solve problems in the world. And then all this should be coined around entrepreneurship so that we can solve problems, make an income, and then provide sustainability. That's how we formed Thai Events. Then our agenda was to just create a platform for people to meet. And why were they meeting? For them to convert their ideas into actions. So our slogan is turning ideas into action. And that's what we do.
Okay.
At every instance, at every intersection of communities, we want to turn ideas into action. And we've done this for 5 years now. In 2019, we started what we call the Nairobi Business Conference. Next, we did the Nairobi Business Summit. We went into leadership. And all these conversations are around business, leadership, technology. Then in 2020, even with in the wake of COVID-19, we got to a way that we could do hybrid events and virtual events where people are talking about their experiences, their lives, their inspirations in business, and even the problems that they're solving. That's how we came to meet people in the insurance industry who are not just concerned with the premiums that you pay, but they're also concerned with how well you are in terms of your mental health. It was very surprising that out of the conversations that we had, we can now have people who are not financial advisors who are asking you about your mental health. And it got me thinking on, is entrepreneurship really about just making money?
Mm-hmm.
And I found out that that is not true. It is about making money, solving problems, and helping people to become better. And so we've found other areas that we can invest in terms of building communities. So apart from technology, innovation, and entrepreneurship, we have introduced corporate team building that we use to just excite people and keep people engaged in their companies. We have also done events in mental health, which now we've done the second conference this year. We started one in 2023, and we've done one in 2024. We're hoping to do a little bit more. Also, in the course of our experience, we have gotten to a point where we want to deal with developmental areas and now see how to introduce entrepreneurship and innovation into development. Look at public transport.
Yes.
Whoever talks about the passenger when we are discussing public transport, anytime you hear of a strike, we talk about the investors, the SACCOs, or who has not been given space to park in town. I don't know which park is being created to host people. Whoever talks about the passenger. Whoever talks about the fare balance that you're never given by the conductor. Whoever talks about the person who is in a car and pays, and then the conductor tells you that you have not paid, and then you're beaten inside that matatu. Whoever talks about your welfare. And so we're getting to communities where we want to even engage policy makers and even contribute in policy making so that the whole ecosystem of entrepreneurship can cater to the needs of everyone in that ecosystem. So when you talk about, for example, in the near future, we are going to have the Nairobi Metropolitan Area Matatu Summit and Expo happening in May this year. And what we want to have is a conversation about the whole spectrum of public transport in Kenya. We've heard about the BRT system, but what are the developments about the BRT? We've heard about e-mobility. What are we doing about e-mobility, and how can Kenya match up with countries that are moving very fast in terms of adopting e-mobility? How can public transport in Kenya be made so comfortable so that we don't have to be fighting to buy cars? We should be fighting to use the available public transport. But then, how are our roads adapted for our needs? For example, if you want to keep fit and use your bicycle from work to home, how do you then feel comfortable and not ashamed? How can we make it easy for you to not feel alienated in this process?
It becomes sort of you normalize the whole.
Yes, it has to be a conversation for everyone. It cannot be a conversation about only the person who is getting money out of the conversation.
So I want to take you back because you mentioned something very interesting.
Yes.
Was when you're starting off TAE and everything else that you've been able to do.
Yes.
Did you then see, because you're looking at something that is then, what was your unique proposition in terms of your business? Is it the welfare part, you seen that there is a space in terms of people, the need of mental, mental care as well, or mental wellness as well?
Yes.
What was very, very unique? Because of course you've seen the gaps that were there. It's about technology, innovation, and enterprise.
Yes.
But what about that unique feature that really and truly has carried through, you throughout as to where we are?
Thank you so much, John. So any good public speaker who believes that they are good in public speaking and they've never gotten a stage to do public speaking is not as good as the person who has had 3 opportunities to showcase. Our value proposition is basically to give you a platform to showcase.
All right.
Apart from showcasing, we also give companies and entrepreneurs a platform to network and grow in communities. Over time, as we have learned and upgraded and integrated other programs, we have maintained the need for people to coexist and exist in communities, because in collaboration there is power to learn more, to move faster, to grow even better. Out of our engagements and the platforms that we have created, we have seen attendees of our events becoming CEOs. We have seen attendees of our events getting funding for their ideas. We have seen attendees of our events even networking with influential people in business, influential people in government. And then what comes out of that? Resources are shared. Mentorship is given. And so we are looking at building a future through giving a platform that enables us to build a community which now contributes to sustainability. So if we want to contribute to the Vision 2030 and ascertaining Vision 2030, we cannot talk about it if we are not connecting the policymakers to the public. We cannot, for example, talk about affordable housing if you're not connecting the government to entrepreneurs who are providing the materials, to technology people and consultants who are giving us the skills, and also to the people who are going to buy the idea of affordable housing. That is the citizenry. So it's basically a platform for everyone to come, connect, build a community, and then work together towards sustainability.
So how often do you have these particular events or these particular engagements? What's the interval?
Okay.
Maybe in a year, maybe you can give us a...
Great. So in a year we have 4 main events that are done every quarter, that is in the nature of a conference. So we have themed conferences. The first conference of the year is normally about personal development. It's normally done between January and March. In the past, we've given it the name Start Right, and normally it happens in January. That means we want to give people...
Start Right, yeah?
Start Right.
Okay.
Yes. So we just start with Start Right. And under Start Right summits and conferences, we are looking at leadership, we are looking at personal development, we are looking at upskilling, we are looking at even goal setting. In the recent past, we've been doing a lot of vision board development and personal branding training, so that as you start the year, you have inspiration for the whole year in terms of some focused kind of direction. Then in the second quarter, we normally talk about entrepreneurship. And in this entrepreneurship, we want to focus on the person who is starting. And so we have the Nairobi Startup Summit, where we bring together startups in Kenya to convene in Nairobi to talk about their challenges, talk about their ideas, and then connect with people who are interested in investing, who are interested in mentoring, who are also interested in buying from the startups. Then in the third quarter, we talk about women and entrepreneurship. That's something very key to us. As we talk about inclusion as an SDG, we are talking about even affirmative action in Kenya. We cannot have that conversation without having women in business as a subject that is given a lot of significance. Then in the last quarter of the year, we are basically talking about leadership. We are also talking about entrepreneurship as an ecosystem. So we normally have it's normally an entrepreneurship summit that will happen at the end of the year, maybe from October to December. And in 2023, we introduced also a mental health conference around that time, so that we talk about leadership and entrepreneurship, and at the same time talk about mental health, because we have picked out of the developments in Kenya that mental health cannot be separated from the well-being of an entrepreneur.
It's wellness, yes.
And so we don't want to empower people who are very stressed. That empowerment will actually be futile. So we are thinking about how to build that ecosystem. That is the events that we organize.
Yes.
Although in the course of the year, we have a lot more events that we are doing for corporates. So a company will come to us and give us an idea of an event that you want to do. We have done many, many events, company launches, product launches, marketing events, activations, health activations and outreaches, and a lot more.
And so are the audience is sort of, even if they're not fully constant, are they semi-constant from when you start off? Sort of you can pick it up, like the first quarter I did the Start Right event.
Yes.
And I went to the second one, the third one, and at the end of the year, then I'll still come then to the wellness, the mental illness event that then you'll have. Is it a constant audience, or do you give that chance to, or is it a different audience every time?
Okay, so the nature of events, and because, Kenya is still a big country, and we have a lot of people, so the reason why we do different events is for us to be able to meet the needs of different audiences. But the one thing that you can expect is that the audience that we served last year is most probably going to attend the same event next year. So the challenge and the good problem that we've had is that when we did a mental health conference for 200 people in 2023, in 2024 we have bigger challenges because we have to serve around 400 or 500 of them. So it's been a gradual growth in terms of the audience and also in terms of the needs that we are solving every year. Things have been upgrading over time. Yes. So the audience changes, but there is a repeat when we do a repeat event. So we'll do entrepreneurship for entrepreneurs, mental health for mental health professionals, and that changes for the year, but repeats in the subsequent years.
So a new value for every time that you're coming in.
Very true.
I mean, you talked about the Vision 2030. You also mentioned about the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals.
Yes, yes.
And this show greatly is dedicated towards amplifying individuals who are actually contributing towards that in their business and whatever they are doing.
Yes, yes.
So how is TAI and how is TAI then dedicated towards that? Okay. How are you amplifying the sustainable development goals in the events that you're doing and in the, in basically your doings as a company?
All right. So,
and which ones are they, if you don't mind? Yes. And which ones are these particular sustainable development goals?
Okay.
Yes.
So, over time, when we started with our need for industry and innovation, and that is something that has remained constant in our delivery and also even in our strategic development. We have seen entrepreneurs grow. We have seen entrepreneurship happen in a different way, a little bit more exciting and a little bit more focused to the way the world is moving in terms of technology, communication, social cohesion and such. So we are just looking at how industries can be built a little bit better by having communities that are working together. I'm actually thinking about how we can have health practitioners working with tech enthusiasts to develop very, very creative solutions, like in health financing, just looking at that. So the other SDG that we are looking at is actually when you talk about SDG number 10, and this one I want to give it some little bit of attention because inclusion is very important. Reducing inequalities is an important aspect of any business that is existing in 2024 and going forward. When we have events in locations where we cannot accommodate persons with disabilities, it is very painful to think about the opportunity that someone has missed because of their condition or their disability. And so at TAI events, we have made every deliberate effort to do our events in venues that are accessible and accommodative to persons with disabilities. Our interest to serve persons with disabilities has enabled us to understand that persons with disabilities are actually people that can create solutions in the world, and sometimes, which is most of the time, they do much better than their able counterparts. It is very interesting to learn that some of the people who have innovated the best solutions in Kenya for persons with disabilities are actually persons with disabilities. We have also worked with people that have supported persons with disabilities with to be able to move around and provide solutions for them. That is interesting to us. We want to even move to a future where funding can be directed to innovators who are innovating assistive technologies for persons with disabilities to access communities much better. Then the other thing is I talked about a platform for people to connect. How then do we accelerate networking for persons with disabilities to meet investors so that they can talk about their ideas? That is in our core mandate. When we also talk about the affirmative action in Kenya, marginalized communities, whoever talks about entrepreneurship development in refugee camps? Nobody.
Wow,
that's what we are thinking about. We want to solve problems for people who are in areas that flood every now and then see how we can have entrepreneurship being developed in those areas so that even technology can be accelerated in those areas. You'll be surprised that there are places in Kenya today where there is no network connectivity. So how are those people able to access information and even solve problems in their area, leave at all in the rest of the country? So we are really thinking about inclusion and reducing inequalities as a core mandate of what we do. Definitely, the end game of our conversations is partnerships for us to achieve the SDGs. That is SDG number 17.
Number 17.
And we are really thinking about how can we bring, especially from 2024 going forward, how can we bring development partners to talk about the problems that we are facing in a more conclusive way. We don't just talk about climate action as an event. Let's talk about climate action in terms of the things that we want to do over time. Can we talk about, when we do COP, can we talk about the things that we're going to implement in Kenya gradually and consistently every single day for us to have afforestation accelerated in Kenya?
So it becomes a constant conversation.
Exactly. It has to be a daily conversation.
Yes.
So any event that does not have a post-event strategy for consistency and daily routine implementation becomes a stubborn event for us. And so we want to bring a different kind of approach to even the way we create our events, the way we support our clients, so that we can think about post the event and the impact that we can have. Let's talk about sustainability. Let's talk about solving problems for households in Kenya that accelerate how we solve problems for Nairobi, Kenya, Africa, and then the globe. I'll be very excited if the next Tesla is developed from Kenya. And that cannot happen unless we are constantly able to bring solutions through our communities.
Fantastic. Yes. What would you say to a young Eugene, you know, that young boy growing up in Kawangware?
Yes.
What did you say to him now when you look back? What did you say to him?
I think the first thing I will do is to shake the hands of the young Eugene and hug him quite strong, because the kind of resilience that the young Eugene had was something that I still admire to date. I would want to meet the young Eugene and ask him for advice about how to be more resilient in life, and then take that resilience and convert it to mentoring other people to become stronger, to become more agile, and to even think about other people as assets and not liabilities. I'll tell the young Eugene to wake up every day and think about solving problems beyond Africa, and just think about how the world could be better through innovation and also through engaging people to be entrepreneurial and to solve problems even as they make money. But I will still engage the young Eugene and encourage him to not stop thinking about making money, because that's how we solve problems.
Yes. So, I mean, and your mom and I know your family is very, very proud of you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, my family normally attends my events. They pay to attend my events, and it's really humbling when you see a family member that you've suffered together with, and you see them in an event and you're humble at the gesture, the kind of contribution that they've had in your life, and then they're still saying that there's still more that we need to do. I look at my friends who attend the events that we do, and some of them are paying to even exhibit, paying to even sponsor an event. And I'm so encouraged because they see the journey, they see the story, and they're able to invest in it. I don't look at it as the benefit that I get, but I look at it as the benefit that the 1,000 people seated in a hall in an event where I'm organizing, the benefit that they have out of the friendship that I have. And it might be interesting for you to learn that in most of the events that we've had, personal networks, referrals that I've had from friends are what have brought exhibitions and partnerships to those events. And so it's encouraging even how the society is willing to help when you step out and when you have an idea that can convert people's problems into solutions. And it's really exciting.
Yeah, I mean, you're a very community-driven person, even from your experience and how you grew up to where you are.
Yes.
I'm just thinking, how important is it to have someone who can actually hold your hand and believe in you and tell you that tomorrow will be a better day? How important is that when you sort of look at how then your life has been? Because even right now, the family that you really, at the end of the day, you'd go to a church and tell them, you know what, please, I need some food after this particular service, not just for me, but for my family, are the same people who right now, who are now able to come and actually pay to come to your events. So how important is mentorship? And how important is it to have someone who actually tells you, yes, it can be done? How important is that?
Okay. Over time, I've in the process of my reading and just researching, I've found a phenomenon that is very interesting, just an ideology,
Yes.
that if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it might never, ever climb a tree. But then I also look at the society in terms of what conversations shape in the future. So I'm looking at what voices do you hear, what voices do you listen to, and what voices actually influence your life. If today I have friends who tell me, you can't do it, it's not possible, and that cannot work. If I have such friends, then probably I wouldn't have had even one event as we speak today. I wouldn't have gotten to a microphone and spoken in front of 5,000 people, telling them about solutions that the youth can create even when they don't have resources, but just have an idea. It will be very, very saddening to say that without mentorship, your progress will be slow. With mentorship, you're likely to move faster. Because if you have someone advising you on problems that you need to avoid, challenges that you need to avoid, then you're basically reducing the problems that you'll have faced in the next 10 years and accelerating the kind of success that you'll have. So mentorship is very key, and mentorship actually starts with you. I've found a lot of value in being able to do reverse mentorship, where I find someone who has something that I like, someone who has experience in what I do and things that I'm interested in, and actually inform them of what I intend to do, actually inform them in terms of the progress that I'm making, and then I will be corrected. People who are experienced will probably not have a lot of time to come and tell you, for you to do a business plan, you have to start with a cover page and do a graphic design. They'll actually tell you, do all that work and then come to me when you need assistance with finance. All right. So if you can do a lot of the work, then even mentorship becomes a good conversation. A relationship where you are contributing becomes more fulfilling to you, and mentorship becomes more interesting. So for young people, including myself, yes, I would say mentorship works. Mentorship is very important, but it's really a function of how much you contribute to that relationship. The more you contribute, the more you can learn, the more you're willing to be corrected, is the more that you're going to solve problems and do things more perfectly.
It's beautiful.
Great.
That's very beautiful.
Yes.
What's the future for Eugene now?
Yes.
Moving on, and how are the coming days? How do they look like for Eugene?
Okay.
Yes.
So over time, I've had exciting moments. I've had adventure. For the past 5 years in Thai events, I've had quite a good adventure. I've learned things. I've met people. For the past 10 years, I've had a lot of personal development. Now, for the next 10 years, I want to think about impact. I want to think about someone that I met in 2015, who said to me that I have a business idea to do a cyber. And today, they are in the village farming. They have changed the idea of a cyber into agriculture. And guess what they're doing today? They're doing farming at a more advanced level. I want to talk about those people, I want to talk to those people, and I want to provide more solutions to the people who have grown over time, and then look at how I can impact, especially those who have ideas and don't know where to take them. I want to contribute to a society where I can meet a group of youths, and instead of just meeting them and talking to them, I can sit with them, think about a solution that they can do, and then work with them over 5 years, over 10 years, and see how much we can do in a group of 100 youths. Recently, I met a group of youths in Kabete. Those youths were actually almost outcast in the society. They have been rejected. They have been rejected. They have been abused and insulted. Yeah. And then when we had a meeting with the youth, they told me that the only thing that they would want to have is somewhere where they could get food on their tables every single day. And I asked them, what could we do about this problem that you're having? And they said, all that we need is a tent and a car wash machine. And that's what I engaged a few people to support that project. People in government and in the society who are willing to support. When we got those equipment to the team, this is now 6 months later. And that team, out of 100 of them, about 50 of them have not had even the taste of alcohol in the past 6 months. Oh, wow. That is in just wonderful 6 months. Impact. The other 50 are still struggling with recovery, and there's a lot of support that is being given to them. I can imagine what will happen if these 100 people in the next 1 year are able to get out of drug addiction and solve more problems, because now they're making an income. So how about if we support now 100 ideas out of the team of 100 that is now on their journey to reformation, how about if we support each of them to do something at home, to do something to get an employment, to get a business going? How much more impact can we have for just 100 people? And I'm very interested in how much we can do with these 100 people in 10 years.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes.
Thank you, Eugene, so much.
Great.
And lovely that you're able to join us here at the Beyond Impact podcast.
Yes.
Asante sana.
All right. Thank you
you
so
so
much.
much.